The Child Among the Ruins, HFY Sci-Fi Story. The wind howled across the broken land, carrying the scent of ash and silence once. This planet had been alive, full of towers, lights and voices, but now it was only dust and bones. A lone human dropship descended through the smoky clouds, its engines echoing across the empty ruins. Inside, Captain Aaron sat in the pilot's chair, staring at the cracked view screen. "Scan for life signs," he ordered quietly, his voice rough from too many battles. The scanner beeped once, faint and uncertain. "Single faint signal, sir." "It's weak," said his officer. "Probably a dying machine." Aaron frowned. Or someone still breathing. The dropship landed with a hiss of air, dust swirling around the landing gear. Aaron stepped out first, wearing a dark survival suit marked with the Terran insignia. He looked around, broken statues, melted metal, shattered glass. The air was still, too still, like the world itself had stopped waiting for hope. His boots crunched over the debris as he walked deeper into the ruins. "Anyone alive?" he called, his voice echoing against fallen walls. No answer came, only the whisper of wind through twisted steel. Then he heard it, a soft sound, almost like a cry. He froze, raising his weapon, eyes scanning the shadows. The cry came again, weak and trembling. From beneath a half-collapsed beam, Aaron rushed forward, tossing aside chunks of concrete with his gloved hands. Beneath the rubble lay a small figure, thin arms, pale silver skin and glowing blue eyes filled with terror. A child, alien and fragile. She looked at him as if she didn't believe he was real. "Help, please," she whispered in broken Galactic tongue, her voice barely audible. Aaron dropped his rifle and knelt beside her, lifting the beam with his exosuit's strength. The child flinched at first, expecting pain, but instead felt warmth as he pulled her free. Her small body shook, dust clinging to her torn clothes. Aaron wrapped his jacket around her, feeling her heartbeat and a fast, scared alive behind him. One of his soldiers shouted, "Sir!" "That's one of them. Don't touch it!" Aaron looked down at the girl who stared back with huge eyes. She wasn't a soldier, she wasn't a threat. She was just a lost child in a dead world. He lifted her carefully, ignoring the warning. "We're not leaving her here." The team hesitated, but followed orders, back inside the dropship. The girl lay on a stretcher, staring at the metal ceiling. She spoke softly, her accent broken. Are you human?" Aaron nodded. "Yes, and you?" She didn't answer, only turned her head away, tears sliding down her silver skin. He sighed and sat beside her when the engines roared to life. The girl reached out and grabbed his hand. Her tiny fingers trembled as she whispered, "Please don't leave me." Aaron felt something twist in his chest, something he hadn't felt in years. During the war, he had seen planets burn and children cry, but this one felt different. She wasn't just asking for rescue, she was asking for a reason to live. He squeezed her hand gently. "You're safe now," he said. Her eyes brightened for the first time, faintly glowing in the dim light. The dropship rose, leaving the ruined city behind. As they flew through the clouds, lightning flashed outside, lighting up her face. She stared out the window, whispering, "My home is gone." Aaron didn't know what to say. The truth was simple. Everything she had known was destroyed. He had no answers, only silence. Back at the fleet, command awaited reports, but Aaron knew this child would change everything. Something about her eyes and the way they looked through him made him uneasy. They weren't eyes of fear anymore, but of trust. When the ship docked, medics rushed to take her, but she clung tightly to Aaron's arm. "Don't let them take me," she said softly. You are my father now." The words froze him completely. The crew around them went silent, exchanging shocked looks. Aaron stared at the small girl, speechless, her eyes filled with tears. Her voice trembling, "Please, human, be my father." He didn't move, didn't speak. As the world around him seemed to stop, a human soldier and an alien child, standing in the center of a war that had destroyed both their worlds. And yet in that single moment, something powerful was born. Not hatred, not fear, but a fragile spark of love that would soon shake the galaxy. The officers waited for his response. Unsure what to do, Aaron finally lifted his head, his voice calm but firm. "She stays with me," he said. "No one touches her." The medics hesitated, then nodded. The girl smiled weakly and leaned against his chest, her breathing slowing as she drifted into sleep. Aaron looked out the viewport at the stars beyond. He didn't know what fate awaited them, but deep inside, he knew This child had changed everything. As the ship moved through the void, the stars reflected in her silver eyes. The galaxy was silent, watching. No one knew that a war-torn soldier and a lost alien child had just begun a story that would echo through every world. A story of love, defiance, and the power of a single human word, Dea. The orders from command, HFY Sci-Fi Story. The command deck of the human flagship was cold and silent. Blue lights glowed from the hollow screens, showing data about the rescued alien child. Captain Aaron stood at attention, his uniform still dusty from the ruined planet. In front of him, Admiral Hayes sat behind a long metal table, his expression unreadable. "So, Captain," the Admiral said slowly, "you disobeyed extraction protocol and brought an enemy species on board." Aaron didn't flinch. "She's just a child, sir. There was no threat." The Admiral's gaze hardened. "Every enemy child grows into an enemy soldier, Captain." Around the room, officers whispered to each other. Some agreed with Aaron. Others feared what the child might be. A young lieutenant projected the child's scans onto the screen. "Her DNA contains unknown code strands. Possibly military engineering," she said nervously. The Admiral leaned forward. "We will hand her to the research division for testing." Aaron's fist tightened. "She's not an experiment, she's alive." The Admiral's eyes narrowed. "You forget your place, Captain." Aaron took a deep breath, trying to stay calm. "Sir, with respect, we're humans, not monsters." The Admiral's face turned cold. "You will follow orders," he said sharply. "Deliver the child to the lab, and this will end here." Aaron hesitated, his mind spinning. He remembered the girl's trembling voice, the way she had called him father. He remembered her fear when she said, "Don't let them take me." Something deep inside him refused to obey. The Admiral dismissed him with a wave. "You have your orders, Captain. See them done." Aaron walked back to the med bay, his steps heavy inside. The small alien girl sat on a bed, holding a piece of bread with both hands. She looked up as he entered, her bright blue eyes lighting up. "Father," she said softly, her voice full of relief. Aaron froze again at that word. "You shouldn't call me that," he said quietly. "But you saved me," she replied. "No one ever did before." He knelt beside her, brushing dust from her silver hair. Her innocence felt too fragile for the dark world around them. Before he could reply, 2 armed guards entered. "Captain, we're here for the alien," one said coldly. "Admiral's orders?" The girl's eyes widened in terror. "No," she whispered, clutching Aaron's sleeve. Aaron stood between her and the soldiers, his hand resting on his weapon. "She's not going anywhere," he said firmly. The guards hesitated. "Sir, we have strict command orders." Aaron's voice deepened. "Then tell command they can court-martial me later." The guards looked at each other, then slowly backed out of the room. Leaving in silence, Aaron turned to the ship's AI. "Lock the medbay." "Access restricted," the AI replied. "Captain, are you sure?" "Completely," he said. He knelt beside the girl again. "Listen to me, we have to leave right now." The child blinked in confusion. "Leave? But where?" Aaron grabbed a small pack of supplies. "Somewhere safe. Somewhere they can't hurt you." She hesitated, then nodded, trusting him completely. Outside, alarms began to echo. The command deck had realized he was gone. Aaron ran through the narrow corridors, the girl held tightly in his arms. Crew members turned their heads in shock as he passed. He reached the hangar bay where small ships rested under flickering lights. Security drones hovered near the entrance, scanning for unauthorized activity. Aaron whispered, "AI override hangar lock. Code Delta 7. The ship's AI paused, then answered quietly, "Override accepted, good luck." "Captain?" The hangar doors began to open, revealing the endless dark of space beyond. The engines of a small stealth shuttle roared to life. Gunfire erupted behind them as security forces arrived. Aaron ducked behind a crate, shielding the girl. "Hold tight!" he shouted. He sprinted toward the shuttle as bullets ricocheted around them. Once inside, he slammed the door shut and launched. The shuttle shot out of the hangar, spinning through the black void. Explosions lit up behind them as the fleet's warning systems activated. "Unauthorized launch detected," the AI voice boomed over the radio. Aaron pushed the throttle harder, his jaw clenched. Not today. The stars blurred as the shuttle jumped into hyperspace. The child sat quietly beside him. Gripping her seat, her eyes wide, Aaron looked at her. Small, scared but alive. "You okay?" he asked. She nodded slowly. "You saved me again." He gave a faint smile. "Guess I did." She tilted her head, curious. "Does that mean you are my father now?" Aaron looked away, unable to answer. Behind them, the human fleet sent out messages across the network. "Captain Aaron, deserter," the announcement said. Arrest on sight, but none of that mattered now. In the small, quiet shuttle drifting through the void, there was only one thing that mattered: the fragile bond between a human soldier and the child who believed in him. He looked at the sleeping girl and whispered, "I don't know where this ends, but I'll keep you safe." The navigation system beeped softly, showing new stars ahead. Aaron tightened his grip on the controls and whispered to himself, "We're on our own now." The stars outside shimmered like a promise. Far away, unseen forces began to move. The choice Aaron made would not only decide his fate, but would also change the destiny of countless worlds. And somewhere deep in the silence of space, destiny itself began to shift, because one human had chosen to protect an alien child, and that choice would echo across the stars. The hunt begins. HFY Sci-Fi Story. The stars stretched like silver threads as the small shuttle drifted through the endless dark. Captain Aaron sat in the pilot's seat, staring at the fading glow of hyperspace. The child slept quietly beside him, her head resting against the window, her silver hair catching the light. For the first time in days, there was silence. No gunfire, no alarms, no orders. Only the hum of engines and the slow rhythm of two hearts trying to find peace. Aaron exhaled slowly. "We did it," he whispered. But even as he said it, he didn't believe it. The human fleet never forgot, never forgave. He reached to check the long-range scanner, and his stomach tightened. Multiple signals were already spreading across nearby sectors. Alerts from command. They had declared him a traitor, and worse, they had placed a bounty not only on him but on the child as well. Every mercenary, every alien hunter, every desperate soul in the outer rim would now be looking for them. He leaned back in the chair, rubbing his face with a tired hand. The girl stirred softly, her glowing eyes fluttering open. "Where are we, Father?" she asked, her voice still sleepy. Aaron looked at her and smiled faintly. "Far from anyone who can hurt you." She blinked slowly. Then, "We are free." Aaron hesitated, then said softly, "For now." He called up the navigation charts. Scanning the edges of known space, there was a small uncharted sector beyond the mining colonies. A place called Vale's Reach. Rumor said it was filled with wrecked ships, pirates, and ghosts of old wars. "Perfect for hiding. Hold on, little one," he said. "We're going somewhere the galaxy forgot." The ship jumped again, disappearing into the starlit void hours later. They arrived near a shattered planet surrounded by debris. Broken ships floated like frozen tombstones, each a reminder of forgotten battles. Aaron carefully steered between the wrecks. Turning off active signals, the ship's AI spoke softly. "Captain, power reserves at 40%, food supplies for 2 days." Aaron nodded. "We'll find something here." He turned to the girl. "Stay close to me, no talking to strangers." She nodded obediently. Holding onto his arm, they landed near the remains of an old space outpost. Inside, the air smelled of rust and cold metal. Lights flickered weakly from walls coated in dust. Aaron scavenged through containers, searching for power cells or rations. The child wandered near a broken window, staring at the endless stars. "Father," she said softly, "why are they chasing us?" Aaron paused, his hand still. "Because they're afraid." "Afraid of me?" she asked, her small voice trembling. He sighed. "No, afraid of what you might become." She turned her glowing eyes toward him, confusion and sadness mixing inside. "I don't understand," she whispered. "I didn't do anything." Aaron knelt down and placed his hand gently on her shoulder. "I know," he said, "but fear makes people blind. And you're something they don't understand." She looked down, her small fingers gripping his glove. "Then I'll stay with you," she said quietly. "You understand me." Aaron smiled faintly. "Yeah, kid, I do." Suddenly, the scanner beeped sharply. 3 red dots appeared on the radar, ships entering the sector. Aaron cursed under his breath. "They found us." He rushed back to the controls, pulling the girl into the co-pilot's seat. The ship lifted off just as laser fire sliced through the wreckage below. Flames burst across the surface as they shot into the sky, weaving through debris. A voice echoed through the comms. "Captain Aaron, surrender the asset and we'll spare your life." Aaron smirked bitterly. "You'll have to catch me first." He pulled the throttle hard, spinning through a cloud of shattered metal. One enemy ship followed close behind, its weapons locking on. "Hold on tight," he shouted, rolling the shuttle sharply. A piece of a broken battleship drifted past. Aaron used it as cover. He fired a flare, confusing their sensors, then looped behind them. The small human shuttle fired a burst of plasma. Striking the pursuer's wing, the ship exploded into a burst of fire and smoke. The child gasped, clutching her seat. "Did you hurt them?" Aaron looked ahead. "No," he said softly. "They chose this fight." Another ship appeared from above. Launching missiles, Aaron pulled the controls sharply. The shuttle diving through a canyon of wrecked hulls. Metal scraped the sides, sparks flying everywhere. He shouted over the roar, "AI, activate stealth mode." "Activating," the AI replied. And the lights dimmed. The ship vanished into darkness, hidden among drifting debris. Outside, enemy ships searched blindly, their sensors confused after long minutes. They gave up and jumped away. Inside, silence returned. Aaron let out a long breath, his hands shaking. The girl reached out and touched his arm gently. "You're shaking." He smiled weakly. "That's what happens when you care too much." She tilted her head. "Then you must care a lot," he laughed quietly. "Yeah, I guess I do." She looked out the window, her eyes soft. "Do you think they'll stop chasing us?" Aaron shook his head. "Not until they find what they want or until I stop them." She sat quietly for a while, then whispered, "Father, what am I?" The question hit him harder than any explosion. He looked at her, innocent, curious, but something deep inside her seemed hidden. He didn't know the answer yet, but he could feel it. There was something special about her, something powerful, something the galaxy feared but did not understand. He placed a hand on her shoulder. "You're someone worth protecting. That's what you are." As she smiled, the ship's computer flashed red again. "Unidentified transmission detected," it said. "Encrypted signal leaving the ship." Aaron's eyes widened. "That can't be right." He turned toward the girl. She looked confused. Unaware and deep in her chest, under her silver skin, a faint blue light pulsed like a heartbeat. A secret neither of them understood had just begun to awaken. The revelation. HFY Sci-Fi Story. The hum of the engines filled the small ship like a heartbeat. Steady but uneasy, Captain Aaron sat in the control chair, staring at the flickering red alert on the main screen. The message repeated again and again. "Unidentified transmission detected." He muted the alarm, leaned forward and whispered to himself, "Who's sending it?" Beside him, the alien child slept soundly. Her tiny hands curled close to her chest. A faint blue glow pulsed from beneath her skin with every heartbeat. Aaron's stomach tightened. "What are you, little one?" he murmured softly. He opened the ship's internal sensors. Tracing the signal, it wasn't coming from the ship's systems. It was coming from her every few minutes. A faint pulse of energy escaped her body. Invisible. Encoded, the AI's voice broke the silence. Calm and mechanical. "Captain, the transmission frequency matches pre-war military encryption from the Zyra Empire." Aaron froze. "That's her people," he said quietly. The AI continued. "Correction. It matches a weapon signature, not civilian channels." Aaron's heart sank like a stone. He turned to look at her, still asleep under a thin blanket. She looked so peaceful, so innocent, yet somewhere inside her something dangerous stirred. He whispered, "No, it can't be. She's just a child." But the evidence didn't lie. He needed answers, and there was only one place he could get them. An old friend, a cyber specialist named Rin, who lived on the edge of human-controlled space. Rin owed him a life debt, and Aaron was about to call it in. The ship jumped into hyperspace, blue light streaking across the windows like frozen rain. Hours later, they arrived near an abandoned asteroid station hidden within a nebula. Aaron guided the shuttle into a landing bay lit by dim yellow lamps. The child stirred awake, blinking softly. "Where are we, Father?" "Somewhere safe," he said. "Someone who can help us." She looked uncertain but nodded, trusting him as always. When the door opened, a tall woman in a dark tech suit appeared, smiling faintly. "Aaron," she said, "I thought you were dead." "Not yet," he replied. "But I need a favor. Inside the old control room, wires hung from the ceiling like vines. Screens flickered with static as Rin connected the child to a gentle scanning field. She hummed softly as the data appeared, but her face slowly changed. "This isn't normal," she whispered. "Her DNA isn't just biological, it's a living code." Aaron frowned. "Explain." Rin turned the screen toward him, showing moving streams of light weaving through genetic patterns. "It's not just a weapon, it's a key," she said. "Something locked inside her connects to an ancient system, a planetary failsafe." Aaron stared at the data, disbelief on his face. "So you're saying she could activate something?" Rin nodded slowly. "Or destroy it." The child looked between them, her voice trembling. "Did I do something wrong?" Aaron knelt beside her, his voice soft. "No, you didn't do anything wrong." Rin bit her lip. "Aaron, listen to me. The Zyra Empire must have built her as a living signal beacon." "She doesn't know what she is," Aaron said sharply. "She's not a weapon." Rin looked at him with pity. "Maybe not by choice, but they'll come for her." Aaron's heart pounded. "How long until the signal reaches them?" "Maybe hours," Rin whispered, "maybe minutes," as if on cue. The lights flickered and the floor trembled. The AI's voice echoed through the room. "Warning. Multiple warp signatures detected in proximity." Aaron's head snapped toward the window. Dozens of ships were dropping out of hyperspace. Alien warships, sleek and dark, their engines glowing red. Rin cursed. "They traced the signal already." The child clutched Aaron's arm in terror. "They're coming for me." Aaron stood tall, his jaw tight. "Let them come." Outside, the sky turned bright as the fleet began to encircle the asteroid. Aaron moved quickly, helping Rin shut down the scanners and power down the systems. He grabbed his blaster and turned to the girl. "You stay behind me. No matter what happens." She nodded weakly, tears in her eyes. "I didn't mean to hurt anyone." Aaron's voice softened. "I know. And I'll prove it to them." A voice echoed over the comms, cold and commanding. "Human vessel. Surrender the child and your lives will be spared." Aaron smirked bitterly. "I've heard that one before." Rin looked at him, fear in her eyes. "You can't fight them all." Aaron's gaze didn't waver. "Watch me." He ran to the cockpit, flipping switches and charging the defense grid. The old station shook as laser fire began to hit its shields. "AI, reroute all power to the main cannon," he ordered. "Power rerouted," it replied. The hum of energy filled the room like the growl of an awakening beast. Outside, the alien ships surrounded them like wolves. But Aaron wasn't running anymore. He looked at the girl, who stared back with silent tears. "Father," she whispered, "if I'm a weapon, maybe I can protect you." Aaron shook his head. "No, you're a child, not a weapon." But before he could stop her, the blue light beneath her skin flared. Rin shouted, "Aaron, she's activating!" The station trembled violently as waves of energy rippled outward. Screens flickered, systems overloaded, and then silence. The light faded, leaving the child unconscious in Aaron's arms. Outside the window, every ship had frozen in space. Their engines dark, no movement, no sound, and only drifting silence. Aaron looked down at the girl, her breathing shallow. "What did you do, little one?" he whispered. Rin stared at the motionless fleet, her voice trembling. "I think she just stopped the war. But I don't think it was by choice." Aaron held her closer. Realizing the truth, whatever was inside her wasn't evil. It was ancient, powerful, and misunderstood. And now, every empire in the galaxy would come hunting for the child who could silence worlds. As the stars shimmered beyond the cracked viewport, Aaron made a silent vow. "I won't let them take you," he whispered, "not ever." The battle for innocence, HFY Sci-Fi Story, the asteroid base burned in silence. Floating between shattered stars, Captain Aaron stood at the shattered viewport, his reflection trembling in the cracked glass behind him. Alarms screamed and red lights pulsed like a heartbeat gone mad. In his arms, the alien child, pale and weak, slept with faint blue light flickering under her skin. She had saved them once, but at a terrible cost. Now the fleets of two great powers, and other humans and the Zyra, were closing in, both demanding the same thing. "Hand over the girl," their messages repeated, "or be destroyed." Aaron placed her gently on a padded seat and turned to Rin. "How long until the shields fail?" he asked. 10 minutes, maybe less," she answered, typing furiously at a control panel. Sparks burst from the walls as another blast hit the station. The ground shook, dust fell from the ceiling. and the hum of the generators grew unstable. Rin glanced back at him. We can't win this fight. Aaron, he smiled faintly. Winning's overrated. He walked to the command console and opened a wideband channel. This is Captain Aaron of the Terran fleet. His voice echoed through the comms. She's just a child, not a weapon. The response came cold and sharp. You are harboring a military asset belonging to the Zira Empire. A second voice broke through. Alien and harsh. Return our creation human, or your species will burn. Aaron's jaw tightened. Creation? He whispered, his anger rising. He looked down at the sleeping girl. She's not your machine. Outside, hundreds of ships surrounded the asteroid. The human fleet on one side, the Zira fleet on the other. Between them, one broken station, one human captain and one innocent child. The comms went silent for a moment. And then both fleets fired. The stars exploded with fire, beams of light cutting across the black void. The station shook violently, power surges running through every circuit. Rin screamed, "We can't take another hit!" Aaron gritted his teeth. Then we make sure they can't fire again. He sprinted toward the weapons console, hands flying across the controls. The last defense turrets activated, turning toward both fleets. Old Earth weapons, outdated but fierce, began to glow with blue light. He knew they couldn't win, but he could buy time. Time for the girl to wake up. Time to find a way. Target their engines. Not their crews, he ordered. The cannons roared, lighting the dark like thunder. Rin's voice trembled. Aaron, you're outnumbered 1,000 to 1. He smiled grimly. Wouldn't be the first time humanity faced that. The human ships hesitated when they saw the Terran flag still glowing on the old station. Some captains refused to fire, whispering across the radio. That's Aaron, the one who saved colonies at Vega 9. But the command center overrode them. Fire at will! Aaron's voice came through every frequency, calm and defiant. If being human means turning a child into a weapon, then maybe you've forgotten what humanity means. The word spread like wildfire through the channels. Even the alien soldiers paused, uncertain inside the station. The child stirred weakly, her hand glowing brighter. Aaron turned and knelt beside her. Stay with me, little one. Please. Her lips moved softly. Father, why are they fighting? He swallowed hard. Because they're afraid of what they don't understand. Her small hand touched his chest. Then make them understand. Her glow grew stronger, filling the room with soft blue light. Rin stepped back, shielding her eyes. Aaron, she's activating again. Aaron held her shoulders gently. No, not like before. Don't let them control you. She looked at him, tears in her eyes. I don't want anyone to die. The glow spread through the walls, touching every circuit, every weapon. The cannons powered down, the engines stilled, and even the enemy fleet stopped firing through the radio. Static filled the silence and then voices cried out, Our systems are freezing, energy levels collapsing. Aaron stared in awe as the blue light spread across the void. The ships hung motionless, their weapons dead, their engines cold. Yet no one died, no explosion came. The pulse she released carried not destruction, but peace, pure and absolute. For the first time in centuries, the galaxy was quiet. The child collapsed again, falling limp in Aaron's arms. Rin whispered in disbelief. She disabled every weapon in this sector. Aaron held her close, his voice breaking. She saved them all. But the silence did not last. Deep within the Zira flagship, systems rebooted. A new signal emerged, darker, stronger, something ancient and angry. Rin looked at the readings and froze. Aaron, something else woke up. He glanced at her. What do you mean? The weapon she carried, it wasn't just a signal, it was a key, she said. And now the lock is gone. Aaron's eyes darkened. Then we finish this. He looked at the girl, unconscious but still breathing. You gave them peace, he whispered. Now I'll protect what you started. Outside, the last stars burned like candles in the wind. Human and alien ships alike floated together in silence. Enemies turned watchers, uncertain of what had just happened. Inside the wrecked station, a human captain stood over a child who had changed everything. And somewhere deep in the stars, something ancient stirred awake. The war for survival was not over. It was only changing its shape. The signal of the heart, HFY Sci-Fi Story. The stars hung still, as if the universe itself had paused to breathe. The great fleets that once roared with fire now drifted silently. Powerless and quiet inside the broken station, blue light still shimmered along the metal walls, fading slowly like the end of a heartbeat. Captain Aaron sat on the floor beside the unconscious child, his hands shaking, his eyes filled with disbelief and awe. She had done the impossible, silenced war without killing anyone. Rin stood near the console, her face pale under the dim glow. She didn't disable them, she whispered. She freed them. Aaron looked up confused. Freed them from what? Rin pointed to the flickering data on the screen, streams of alien code rewriting themselves. Their ships, their weapons, all controlled by an ancient war protocol, she explained. She broke the loop, the command that forced them to fight without end. Aaron turned back to the girl, brushing dust from her silver hair. Her breathing was shallow but steady, her skin faintly glowing again. He whispered softly, "You didn't destroy them. You saved them outside the station." The two fleets hovered, still divided but no longer firing. A strange calm filled the void, and then a single pulse of blue light rippled outward. It spread across the nearest ships, then to others, linking every vessel in a network of faint glowing lines. A massive holographic pattern appeared in the space between them, a symbol none of them recognized. It pulsed once like a living thing, then faded, leaving behind silence. Rin stared at the readings, her voice trembling. That wasn't a weapon signature. It was a message, Aaron frowned. A message? From who? Rin looked up slowly, her eyes wide. From her people, from before the war even began. The ship's AI came online again, voice low and calm. Decoding ancient signal. Translation complete. A soft female voice filled the room. Not human, not mechanical, but gentle, ancient and tired. If you hear this, the voice said, then the last of us is gone. But our children remain. Aaron and Rin froze. Listening in silence, we built them not for war, but for memory, the voice continued. They carry within them the seed of peace, the power to silence hatred. Not life. The message ended with a whisper. Protect the heart of our children, and you will protect the stars. Aaron's throat tightened, realization washing over him. The girl wasn't a weapon. She was a legacy, a living safeguard created to end wars, not start them. He looked at Rin. They turned her into a weapon, twisted what she was meant to be. Rin nodded, tears in her eyes, and yet she remembered who she was, suddenly. The floor trembled again. Something was moving outside. Through the cracked viewport, Aaron saw one of the Zero warships slowly power back up, but instead of aiming its cannons, it lowered its weapons and transmitted a visual signal. The screen flickered to life, showing a tall alien commander with shimmering red eyes. He looked weary, his voice heavy. Human, the child belongs to us, but you are right. She is not ours to command. Aaron stood tall, his hand protectively on the child's shoulder. She belongs to no one, he said, his tone calm but sharp. The alien nodded slowly. Perhaps, but she carries the code of our ancestors, and you carry the heart to protect it. Before Aaron could answer, the human flagship appeared on the other side, hailing him at once. Captain Aaron, the admiral's voice thundered. You have violated direct orders, but your actions saved thousands. Explain yourself. Aaron looked between the two fleets and spoke into the comm, his voice steady. She saved all of you, and you still talk about orders? The silence that followed was heavy and long. For once no one argued, no one fired, no one demanded control. In that quiet moment the child stirred, her eyes flickering open. The first thing she saw was Aaron's face, smiling faintly, tired but proud. Father, she whispered weakly, did I stop the fighting? He nodded slowly. Yes, you did. Her lips curved in a small, exhausted smile. Then I'm not a weapon anymore. Aaron's voice softened. You never were. The fleets outside began to move again, not in attack, but retreat. Ships drifted away, slowly turning toward their own stars. Messages flashed across the channels. Ceasefire declared. Temporary truce established. Rin wiped her eyes, whispering, She changed everything. Aaron looked down at the child, still glowing faintly. No, he said. She reminded them. He lifted her gently, carrying her to the observation deck. The glass above revealed the stars, hundreds, millions, all shining softly in the vast dark. The girl leaned her head against his shoulder and murmured, They're so pretty. Aaron smiled. They always were. We just forgot how to look. She reached out a trembling hand. touching the window where the starlight glowed as her fingers pressed the glass. The faint blue light inside her heart pulsed once more. It sent a final gentle wave across the stars, not of data, not of war, but of peace, and for a heartbeat, the galaxy seemed to breathe again. Ships that had once fired upon each other sent quiet messages of surrender. Commanders who had never spoken now exchanged words of truce. Aaron stood there, holding the child who had done what entire armies could not. He whispered softly, "You change them with your heart, not your power." She smiled faintly, eyes closing again. "Then maybe hearts are stronger than guns." Her light faded softly as she drifted into sleep. Aaron held her close, looking out at the silent stars. He whispered into the still air, "Rest now, little one." Your signal was heard. The ship floated quietly, surrounded by the calm of a reborn galaxy. The message of peace echoed through every relay. Every world, every mind that listened, and somewhere beyond the stars, an ancient race smiled in memory of their final creation. Not a weapon, not a soldier, but a child with the heart of a star. The galaxy's new dawn, HFY Sci-Fi Story light returned slowly to the universe. Like morning after a 1,000-year night, the fleets that once darkened the stars drifted home in silence, carrying stories instead of weapons across dozens of worlds. Soldiers looked at their hands and wondered how they had ever pulled the trigger. Some cried, some prayed, and some simply looked up, whispering thanks to the unknown child who had stopped the fire. On the ruined asteroid, Captain Aaron stood beside a small window, watching the ships depart. The child slept peacefully in a medical pod surrounded by a soft blue glow. Her heart beat steady again. Rin worked quietly nearby, repairing damaged circuits with steady hands and tired eyes. Every few moments she glanced at the pod and smiled faintly. "She's stabilizing," she said softly. "Her energy is adapting, like she's becoming part of the stars themselves." Aaron nodded, his gaze distant. Maybe that's what she was meant to be. Outside, the wreckage of war drifted like dust, glowing faintly in the new light. Messages spread across every communication line, humans and aliens declaring a truce. The words "Peace Accord of Lyra Station" began to appear in every record. Named after the child who had brought it, for the first time in history, the Galactic Council sent an invitation to humanity. Not a warning. Aaron didn't answer it immediately. He simply sat beside the pod. He looked at the sleeping child and whispered, "They'll call you a miracle, little one. But to me, you're just my daughter." Days turned into weeks as engineers and diplomats arrived at the silent station. Instead of soldiers, they brought builders and healers. They restored the old base and turned it into a monument, a sanctuary where no weapon could function. When the child finally awoke, she found the halls filled with laughter, human and alien together. Children of both races played under new lights, their voices echoing through corridors once filled with fear. She stepped out of the pod and looked around, confused and amazed. Aaron smiled, kneeling beside her. "Welcome back, Lyra," he said softly, using the name the council had given her. She blinked, tilting her head. "Lyra," she repeated quietly. "I like it," Rin approached with a grin. "Everyone does, and it means the Song of Stars in Old Earth language." Lyra's eyes widened. "A song?" Aaron nodded. "You sang one without words, and the whole galaxy heard it." She smiled shyly and looked out the window at the endless field of stars. "They're shining brighter," she said. "Maybe they're happy." Aaron chuckled. Maybe they finally have something worth shining for. Months later, the first joint colony between humans and Zira opened on a green moon near Vega. There were no armies, no borders, only teachers. Scientists and families. Aaron and Lyra were among the first to arrive, stepping onto soft grass beneath twin suns. The air smelled of life, of new beginnings. Lyra ran through the fields laughing, chasing bright butterflies that shimmered like tiny stars. Aaron watched her, his heart heavy with pride and peace. Rin stood beside him, hands on her hips. "You did it." "Captain," she said. He shook his head slowly. "No, she did." At night, campfires flickered under the alien sky. Humans shared stories of the old Earth wars, and Zira elders told tales of their forgotten songs. Together they sang, different voices, one melody. Lyra sat close to Aaron, leaning against his shoulder. "Father," she whispered, "do you think the stars will remember us?" Aaron looked up at the sky, where countless lights shimmered like eyes watching gently. "They already do," he said. "Every one of them carries a little bit of your light now." As the colony grew, The legend of the human and the child spread further. Artists carved statues of them holding hands under the twin moons. Poets called it the heart that silenced war. No one remembered the names of the admirals or the empires anymore. Only a soldier who refused an order, and a child who refused to hate generations later. Children would touch those statues and ask, "Was it real?" And their parents would smile and answer, "Yes, and because we are here." Years passed. And Aaron grew older, his hair turning silver like hers. Lyra grew taller, her eyes still glowing softly. Filled with wisdom beyond years, she spent her days teaching peace to others, guiding new worlds away from conflict. When storms of fear returned, her voice calmed them, gentle but unyielding. Sometimes at night she would visit the hill overlooking the valley and sit beside Aaron. He would smile and say, "You know, you still call me father like it's the first day." And she would laugh quietly, because that was the day everything changed. One evening, as the sun set in golden light, Aaron closed his eyes, tired but content. Lyra held his hand and whispered, "You stayed." He smiled softly. "I promised I would." When the last ray of sunlight faded, his heart stopped peacefully and proud. Lyra wept quietly, her tears glowing blue as they fell to the earth. The wind carried them into the sky, where they shimmered and vanished among the stars. That night, a new constellation appeared, a shape like a father holding his child, and people across the galaxy named it the Guardian. Centuries later, ships passing through the Vega system would pause and look up. They would see the twin moons and the shining constellation, and somewhere in their hearts, they would feel warmth, a reminder of what humanity once taught the stars, that even in the darkest night, one act of compassion can rewrite destiny, and that sometimes, salvation doesn't come from power or fear. It comes from a single word spoken softly by a small voice: stay.